Judicial Conduct Tribunal tasked with adjudicating a complaint against Judge John Hlophe has found him guilty of gross misconduct. The three-judge panel finding unanimously released a statement confirming that Hlophe breached the code of conduct of judges by improperly attempting to influence two justices of the Constitutional Court. In December, the Judicial Conduct Tribunal held a hearing into the Western Cape judges' misconduct matter. In May of 2008, judges of the Constitutional Court lodged a complaint against Hlophe for allegedly trying to influence the court to decide in favor of then Deputy President Jacob Zuma. Judges of the court, including then Chief Justice Pius Langa and Deputy Chief Justice Dikgang Moseneke, accused Hlophe of trying to influence the apex court in favor of Zuma in an arms deal-related case. To talk more about this story, I'm joined by the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution Executive Secretary, Lawson Naidoo. Lawson, a very good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lawson, kindly for speaking to us. This is quite an interesting development, Judge Hlophe being found guilty. Tell us more what this actually means.
Well, it's a very serious finding by the Judicial Conduct Tribunal, which is the tribunal that is set up to hear matters involve either incompatible, gross misconduct, matters that we would consider to be impeachable findings. So this is a serious finding by the tribunal that Judge President Hlophe is guilty of gross misconduct in seeking to influence two judges of the Constitutional Court when they were considering a matter back in 2008. It is, of course, a matter of some concern that it has taken 13 years to get to this stage where the tribunal has actually sat and now made a finding.
What would have taken this case so long to get to where it is now?
Well, there were a number of legal challenges to the process, the rules that were followed, because in the middle of this process, the procedures of the JSC in dealing with complaints of this nature were amended, so there was a dispute as to which process should be followed. There were issues that were raised by Justices Nkabinde and Jafta regarding their status as complainants and so on. So there have been several legal challenges to this matter over a period of time, which delayed the JSC dealing with the matter. And as I say, the tribunal only sat and met in December of last year.
So when someone is found guilty of gross misconduct, in this particular instance, what are the possible penalties?
Well, the penalty, the severest penalty is impeachment, and gross misconduct would suggest that the judge is no longer fit and proper to serve as a member of the judiciary. And so the decision of the tribunal will now go to the Judicial Service Commission as a whole, the full body of the JSC, who will consider the decision of the tribunal and also invite any further submissions that Judge Hlophe may wish to make to that JSC when they consider the matter. And they have the option of confirming or endorsing the finding of the tribunal, or they may vary it, as they did in the case of Judge Motata a few years ago, where they decided not to pursue impeachment proceedings but simply gave him a lesser sanction. I think in this case, all eyes are going to be on the JSC and how they deal with this. As I say, this is a very serious finding, and one would expect that there would have to be really extraordinary circumstances of which are not immediately apparent why they would not confirm the decision of the tribunal and initiate proceedings through Parliament for the removal of Judge Hlophe.
Now, obviously, this goes to the JSC, sits before a panel. Who are the members of this panel?
Well, it's the full Judicial Service Commission, the full 23-member body of the Commission that will sit, which comprises the Chief Justice as the Chair of the JSC, the Minister of Justice, various members, representatives from Parliament, both the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces, representatives of legal professional bodies, a legal academic, and then the full representatives or nominees of the President who constitute the Judicial Service Commission. So it is that full body that will now consider this report of the tribunal, and as I say, if they confirm the findings, then they will have to refer that matter to Parliament for the National Assembly to, by a resolution with the support of 2/3 of its members, provide for the removal of Judge Hlophe.
Now, obviously, I don't presume you have a crystal ball, but assuming it goes to Parliament, how do you see it panning out?
Well, I think, much depends on the process to be followed now and the recommendation from the Judicial Service Commission itself. If they recommend that there should be impeachment and that Judge Hlophe should be removed from office, I think there would be little scope for Parliament to second-guess those findings. But ultimately, this is a decision of Parliament. The Constitution provides that it is only Parliament that can remove a judge from the bench. So that's the process that can be followed. But it's also important to note that having reached this stage, there is now the option for the President to suspend Judge Hlophe pending the finalization of these further procedures. And I think the gravity of the finding against Judge Hlophe by the tribunal would certainly seem to suggest that the President should exercise that power. We know that the Western Cape High Court has been in some state of disarray over recent years because Judge Hlophe has been involved in a number of other complaints laid against him and counter-complaints that he has laid against other members of the Western Cape Division. So it would seem to be the right time for him to be removed from that so that we can have a level of stability in the functioning of the Western Cape High Court.
The intervention by the President, would that kick in immediately, or is there an expectation that that report will be presented to him, or does it first go before the JSC panel?
Well, in my understanding, the President is now able to act even before the matter is considered by the JSC as a whole and before it goes to Parliament. So now that this finding has been made by the tribunal, I think it adds impetus to the need for Judge Hlophe to be, even if it's temporarily, stepping aside whilst these further processes run their course.
So the allegations, obviously, that in which have resulted in Judge Hlophe being found guilty are around some form of political influences that he tried to carry out. What is the likelihood that politically there might be an inclination for or failure to achieve that two-thirds majority in Parliament?
Well, I'm not sure that labeling it as a political interference is necessarily correct. It's certainly undue influence because the nub of the issue is that Judge Hlophe, who was not a member of the Constitutional Court, sought to influence two justices on the Constitutional Court in a matter that they were still considering. He had not been sitting in on the case, and therefore it was inappropriate for him to seek to influence those judges in coming to their decision. Whether or not he succeeded in influencing them is neither here nor there. The fact that he attempted to do so is what constitutes the essence of his gross misconduct. So Parliament will have to apply its mind to that and be wary of its own responsibilities to uphold the Constitution, that the integrity and the independence of our courts and our judiciary is paramount. And if Parliament fails to act against such a serious finding, it would really demonstrate that Parliament itself is not serious about upholding the Constitution.
Now, how long do we expect this process to take? Obviously, the recommendations have been made to the JSC. When do we expect them to sit and come up with a decision?
Well, given that this matter has run for 13 years already, I'd be foolish to try and put forward any time frame now. But certainly I would hope that the JSC would deal with this issue as a matter of urgency. I think they recognize that this has taken far too long to get to this stage, and I would hope that they would try to ensure that this matter is resolved as speedily as possible, because it is in the interests of the judiciary that it be done quickly to restore and protect the independence of the judiciary and to ensure that the rule of law remains respected. So there are some serious responsibilities on the JSC, and we hope that they live up to those expectations.
Well, what with the judiciary, there are 31 vacancies for judges, and many of those will be interviewed shortly. Any thoughts on this process?
Well, the Judicial Service Commission will start its meeting tomorrow, coincidentally, to interview, I think, over 80 candidates for these various vacancies that exist, from the Constitutional Court to the various divisions of the High Court, the Labour Court and the like. So the Judicial Service Commission will be meeting over the next 2 weeks to conduct these interviews, and hopefully they will find an opportunity whilst they are gathered to at least decide on a process for dealing with this decision of the tribunal, even if they don't actually sit separately to consider the decision of the tribunal. As I say, they will have to give Judge Hlophe an opportunity to respond to the tribunal's decision. That may take a couple of weeks, but we would hope that the JSC would reconvene very soon thereafter to consider the tribunal's decision and any submissions that Judge Hlophe might make.
Now, there are 80 candidates that have been shortlisted. In your view, is this a large enough pool of candidates?
It is. As you know, there are a number of vacancies, as we said, and I think one is pleased to see that there are judges willing to put up their hands for consideration for appointment to the bench. We know that the JSC interview processes are robust, and they interrogate candidates, very deeply. Tough questions are asked, and as it should be, because we want to ensure that those who are appointed to the bench are indeed people who are beyond reproach, people whose integrity and independence and commitment to justice and the rule of law is unflinchable. And so we're pleased to see that so many judges or aspirant judges have made themselves available for consideration, and we hope that the JSC will interrogate those judges and come to decisions as to who should be appointed based on the experience, expertise, as well as the important factors of demographic representativity that the Constitution demands that the JSC follow.
Lawson, finally and very quickly, Justice Mogoeng's term expires this year. Will a similar process be followed of replacing him?
Well, in terms of the Constitution, the President appoints the Chief Justice and the Deputy Chief Justice after consultation with the Judicial Service Commission and the leaders of political parties in the National Assembly. But we've seen from previous experience that candidates for the Chief Justice position are in fact interviewed in public by the Judicial Service Commission, and we hope that this time there will be a short list of candidates put forward by the President for consideration by the JSC, so that there is a competitive process for the position of Chief Justice. It's an important position. It's not just that of the head of the Constitutional Court, but it is the head of the judiciary as a whole. So this is an important appointment that will need to be made in the course of this year, and we hope that the President will follow a process that ensures that there is competition and that the best person available is identified for this position.
Lawson, thank you kindly for your time. Great to hear your insights this morning. That was CASAC Executive Secretary Lawson Naidoo.